Hello everyone! Welcome back to another fall craft this week. I'm Miss Lizzie and I'm here to bring another fall craft from the Drake Library. So this week I thought we'd do a really fun paint sensory craft. This is really great for babies as well as young toddlers, preschool age. Any age can enjoy it, even I enjoy it as an adult. It's really satisfying, but it's mostly geared for younger toddlers, preschool age, maybe even some kindergarten, first grade. So it's a really simple and easy project. All you'll need is some Ziploc bags. This even works great with bigger bags, like a storage bag or a freezer bag, depending on how big we're going to do our trace out, and I'll show you that in a second. So I have some construction paper. You can use any color. You could even use white, regular like printer paper, but I just wanted to use some color because we have it and it'll be a nice contrast with the paint. So that's why I grabbed a black one to kind of contrast the color of the paint. So I have some paint here. I have orange, red, yellow, green, and brown. Again, you can use any color you want. I have washable tempera paint because I always think washable is best when doing crafts with young kids, or even myself. I always get paint everywhere. But again, you can use whatever paint as long as it's not watercolor paint, because we're going to be putting it in the bag. So acrylic, oil paint is also fine. Just, I always think the less messy the better. So I have some tempera paint, and then I have some scissors to cut out, a pencil to do some tracing, and I have some tape. So I just have some fun kind of printed duct tape, but again, any tape works. And then I have some templates that I'm going to use for tracing. So I have a nice leaf here and an acorn because it's fall. But again, you can use any template you want, or you can freehand. I just don't trust myself as much. I don't think it would come out as nice if I freehanded it, but you can do anything you want. This would also be great if your little one wanted to use their hand and trace their hand. Again, a great project for hand tracing, kind of like the bats if you did that with the wings. But again, you can use any shape. I just did it along a ball theme. You can do a heart, you can do just circles, squares, any kind of shapes to maybe learn some shapes, whichever. It totally doesn't matter, and you'll see why. And then that's why you can kind of use any paint colors you want. I'm just kind of sticking with a more fall theme. Okay, so all that out of the way, let's get started on the craft. So I'm going to start with my piece of black paper, and I'm going to start with my leaf, and I'm just going to trace it. I'm going to do it in the center, just to kind of make it even. And again, if your child is a little older, they can absolutely trace this themselves. Great for their fine motor, and then cut it out as well if they're old enough to be using scissors, of course, with some guidance. Great for their fine motor skills to trace and to practice cutting, especially, you know, with something like this, like a leaf, where it's a lot of not straight lines, non-linear lines. Okay, so I have my leaf traced. Can't really see it because it's on black paper. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do my acorn on the yellow piece of paper. And again, my stencils are quite small, or my templates. You could make them even bigger if you have big Ziploc bags. I'm fitting mine kind of to the size of the sandwich bags I have. But again, if you have big freezer or storage bags, you can make these even bigger, which I honestly think would look even better. So my template has a lot of detail in it. I'm just ignoring that and just kind of using the general shape. As long as we can still tell, you know, it's an acorn. I think that's totally fine. Okay. So that one looks like that. And I'm going to cut them out. But I'm going to cut it, so we're going to keep this part of the paper. So we're just going to cut out the shape in the middle, which is a little tricky, but you know, we can handle it. And this is why this might be a good thing if the adult, the caregiver, you wanted to do this part and kind of get this all set up, because this is a little trickier. So my trick, I feel like, is the age-old trick to kind of fold the paper in half and to find a spot in the middle and kind of make a hole and go from there. Kind of make a shape. I started with the acorn because I feel like it would be easier to do for me. There's a lot of nooks and crannies on that leaf, so we'll conquer that in a second. Or maybe if you're, as the adult, you can maybe start the hole in the middle, cut it for them, and then they can cut the rest if they're old enough. And again, I feel like this is one of those crafts that if you have really little ones, kind of that age range I said, it kind of is more suited for, and they do it. But if you have some older ones, they might see it and be like, I want to do that, that looks fun, because once we see, it's really cool. So you're left with this, and this is what we want. We don't want this bit. We want this bit so we can see the paint and everything happening. So I have that one, and I'm going to now do the same thing with my leaf. Again, I'm just showing two different examples. You don't have to do as many as me. I'm just doing a few different ways. So I have to really be careful. If you're using black paper, it might be smarter to use something other than a pencil, because I'm having a hard time seeing my lines, but you know, it's not perfect, it's alright. But if you have maybe a younger one who's trying it out and using scissors, it would be nice to make the lines more obvious for them. But again, if you're just doing it, it's not that big of a deal. And they could just even freehand their own shape if they wanted to, which is always fun. And again, this is a thing that you can always prep ahead of time. If you're, maybe you have a daycare, or you wash kids, and then you can have all these stencils kind of cut out ahead of time. And we can go from there. And then maybe the next morning you all sit down and do it, and so everything's kind of ready to go, and they can just choose their colors, and maybe you have a bunch of different options of shapes, and they can decide which ones they want to use. Like, oh, I want to use the acorn. Okay, well, I want to use the leaf. And then if you have a lot of different colors, you can absolutely do that. And then they can choose the colors that they want. Okay, great. And there's my leaf. Hello. You can play a little game with it too. All right. So now we're going to take our bags and choose the colors. So I'm going to open it up and lay it on the table. And for my acorn, I think I'm going to use brown, yellow, and orange. I'm just going to give it a little shake. So here's my brown. And what? Oh, I got some on the bag outside. Not good. Okay, so you're just going to stick the paint in and just kind of put globs. So I have one glob there. I'll put another one over here. So it's not supposed to really look like anything. So you're kind of left with this situation. And then I'm going to do some yellow. And then, like I said, I'm going to go in with some orange over here. Oh, and this will probably happen. That's alright. I have some napkins here. So that could be a good thing to keep on the side as well. Okay, so, and I got some on the tip of my bag, so I'm just going to wipe that off. And then we're going to close the bag, but try to squeeze all the air out from around the paint, just to kind of make it as flat as possible and not have a lot of air bubbles in it. Okay, so now I'm going to tape this down to the table actually, and this tape doesn't really matter because we're not really going to see it, so I'm just using some clear tape. I'm actually using some double-sided tape too for the bag, so that way when we lay the paper on top, it it sticks nicely to it and it keeps from moving even more. Okay, so now I'm going to take my stencil and put it on top of like where I have that paint. And then I'm going to stick it down, and then just to be extra safe, I'm going to put some more tape. And I thought it would look pretty with some printed duct tape, but again, it doesn't matter. You can use any tape you want. I'm just going to cut this because I can't rip it off. So again, this is one of those crafts that's good because it keeps them on the table and it's kind of mess free. Everything's the Ziploc bag closed. If you want to, you can even tape the Ziploc bag closed. You could even tape this to, like, maybe if you had extra cardboard to keep it a little bit longer, and then they kind of can take it with them and it's all taped down so it's one unit. That's also great instead of taking it to the table. But again, it's just one of those nice activities where you can just kind of tape it to where they're sitting, and then it's kind of mess free and they can just play. Okay, so I'm going to do my last piece of tape. Ooh. There we go. Right, I taped all the corners down, so now it's nice and secure. And now we have kind of our sensory board. If you can kind of see, we have the paints here and the stencil, and what they can do, what's so great, is squish everything and move it around. And they can feel it through the bag and feel the paint, and all the colors mix, and it looks really pretty and it feels really, really good. It's really good for their sensory, for their touch, and seeing all the colors mixed together. And of course it's in this fun shape, and again, you can use any shape you want, so it doesn't really matter. And again, colors don't matter, and you can talk about the different colors and the different shape. You know, I'm using acorn. What color is an acorn? Where the acorns come from? What colors do we see in the fall? It's fall, so what colors? Oh, do you want to use those colors? It's your hand. You can use whatever colors you want, and talk about this. And it's just one of those nice calming things that they can just feel and touch. It's really, really great for their sensory. Okay, so that one's that. Let's do another one since we have time. And again, like I said, see, I have the double-sided tape, so mine's stuck. So we can move it if we needed to. So that's what I'm going to do, and now we'll do another one. So I'm going to use some red and green for my leaf. Maybe some yellow in there too, just to add some nice variety. And I think again with thicker paints, maybe more of an oil paint, this might look even better. And again, one of those things that is pretty mess free if you know, if you as the parent or the caregiver wants to do all of this prep work ahead of time, then they pretty much just have to sit there and just can feel it and go to town. So, but it is fun they can choose their colors and maybe squish them in here. Alright, so again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to close the bag and make sure that all the air's out from around where the paint is. And we're going to tape it down. This is a really great thing to do on a rainy day, or maybe if maybe you have some things to do and you just need the kids to be preoccupied, calm, while you can get some things done. This is great for that. Oh, this looks great already. See, this is why the black is also great, because it really contrasts with the colors so nicely. But again, it's not that big of a deal. Alright, and then, I don't know if you can see that. Maybe I'll insert some pictures so we can see kind of what it looks like. It looks so pretty with all those colors mixing together. And the thicker the paint, the less they'll bleed and become kind of one color. So again, That's why it could be really nice if you have some oil paints, even maybe acrylic, so don't feel too bad if you don't have this paint. And if you're afraid, oh no, it's not washable, then you can always do that step yourself maybe, and they can just pick the colors and then they can just feel it through the bag and it's okay. So that's really it. It's a very simple craft. It's pretty quick, really easy to prep it ahead of time and to just kind of let the kids go and do it. But again, if they wanted to be involved, it's great for fine motor skills, them tracing, whatever shape they want to trace, or if they want to draw freehand, that's also great. Cutting and using scissors if they need to cut out their shapes that they made, great for their fine motor skills. And of course the sensory of it, feeling the paint, choosing the colors, it's all, they can be totally involved with it as well. And it's really nice that they can just occupy themselves and keep mixing colors. And if they wanted to do a bunch, they can do a lot of different shapes as well. So pretty straightforward, pretty easy, and really easy to prep ahead of time, and then they can just go to town. So I thought I'd include some books with that, because I always like to include some books with my crafts, because we are at the library, and I think it can always be great to incorporate reading with some crafts, or if you're using things like I'm using acorns or leaves in my craft, to talk about that. Well, okay, well, what color are the leaves? What type of leaf is this? Mine's it's a big maple leaf. Okay, well, what makes a maple leaf? Why is it different than an oak leaf? You know, and we can talk about these things. Where does an acorn come from? What does it do? It comes from the oak tree, and it's their seeds. So talking about things like that. Of course, if you're just doing, you know, if you're tracing your hand or just using whatever shapes you want, it's not a big deal. It doesn't always have to be educational. It can just be fun. And usually that's educational in and of itself. I mean, they're learning fine motor skills, feeling, adapting their sensory. So it's educational without them even really knowing. So I just have some books to kind of go along with my themes. So we have a book called Leaves, Leaves, Leaves. This is a great picture book for young kids, probably ages like 3 to 7, I would say. It's got great kind of like felt pictures of little bears, and they're talking about leaves, and they're observing leaves. This goes through different seasons, which is quite nice. What the leaves look like in the summer versus the winter and the fall, why they fall down. This is a great picture book that's also quite educational, which is very nice. And that's by Nancy Elizabeth Wallace. That's in our picture book section. And then we have Leaves in Fall. This is a great nonfiction young children's book with great pictures. And again, pretty simple to read, not a lot of words, great pictures, and just talking about why the leaves change color, the different types of leaves. These are some oak leaves, and how they change brown, some ginkgo leaves, all the different types of leaves that we see in the fall time and how they change. This is a great one. We also have these are kind of like a series. We have people in fall and animals in fall too, so those are also great. And then I thought I'd include a picture book that's just called This is Leaves by David Ezra Stein. This is a really cute book of just a bear walking through the forest in the fall and looking at the different leaves, and watches the leaves and collects them and has fun with them. So this one's just really great if you just wanted to include that. And then we have some acorn books as well, and we have tons of books, whether it's nonfiction about how leaves are grown, why they fall down, and then of course we just have some regular picture books that aren't as necessarily educational or nonfiction. So it's just a nice fun story to read to go along with it. And again, if you do different shapes, you can read different books with different shapes, or you can just do the craft and have lots of fun with that. But I thought I'd include some books just in case you wanted to incorporate those and make it a whole experience to go along with it. So I hope you enjoyed this fall craft, this pretty simple and easy one. If you do it, please let me know. Send pictures and send videos to me on our Drake It Library Children's Facebook page, or you can email us at the Drake It Library, or come in and tell me if I'm here. I'd love to hear all about it. So I hope you enjoy this craft, and I hope to see you very soon for our next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.